Acolyte thoughts while I'm walking to get a coffee. So I'll have spoilers in a minute, but before you go, you need to know this. Lightsaber sale! I'm your friendly neighborhood Master Allen with Level Up Sabers. Lightsabers are on sale until July 25th.
You can use coupon code SITHMAS for the Sithmas in July sale.
All lightsabers have color change, 34 sound fonts installed, flash on clash, durability for dueling, and they connect to the Xeno Configurator app. Code will save you $60 off of an order $250 or more, gets you free shipping, and applies to any saber on the site. So if you have a character saber you have been waiting to add to the collection, there are some great options.
Acolyte spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
So far I have seen mixed reviews of Bazil, whatever. I am personally fond of the little mongoose because there are very few characters in this show that they are always doing the right thing for the right reason. And so there isn't a judgment on this person is good, I am on their team, this person is bad, I am not on their team, or any of that kind of stuff. It's just right thing, right reason. That is how Bazil takes his actions. And so he gets a sniff of the sort of the dark side in Saul as he prepares to shoot down May, and he sabotages the ship to prevent it. Nice work, little buddy. I want to say again how much I enjoyed the choreography. The fight teams did a fantastic job. I think the unheralded and my favorite fight scene of the show, which is saying quite a bit because I loved all of them, but my favorite is the fight with Osha and May, where May, who up to this point has been our dark side character, is dressed in white, and Osha, who up to this point has been our light side character, dressed in black. And they have a fight where they do the exact same move at each other symmetrically, repeatedly. And it was fantastic. Shades of the Anakin Kenobi fight from the beginning of that battle in Revenge of the Sith. All right, next, Saul's death. I don't know that people necessarily appreciate how well this was written because it was a really difficult needle to thread. And I thought they absolutely nailed it. So while I wish the character had been able to accept accountability and not make excuses at the end, like just genuinely apologize and then not, have to explain or excuse or any of that nonsense, the fact that Saul kept doing it makes us feel differently about the moment that Osha decides to do what she does, and so then we don't have as much animosity at Osha for doing that. And so if Saul had stood there and done the things that I want him to do, but then Osha kills him anyway, because from a story standpoint, that's very obvious what they're setting up is the next phase of this is Chimere and Osha on the island with Plagueis. But if Saul handles that moment the way that I would have wanted him to, then I've got a lot of problems with Osha killing him in that way, or at least it's harder for me to reconcile that. Not everybody's going to feel that way, but it would be for me. And so that tells me that the fan response to that moment would be much more mixed. Whereas now I think more of us collectively are understanding of Osha. We're sad for her. We're not mad at her. But then they at least gave Saul some last words that I think allow us to have some space in our hearts for him that I appreciate that they gave us. Last words in Star Wars normally suck. Like, part of my frustration with Anakin as a person, not as a character, part of my animosity towards Anakin is because his last words are a narcissist's last words, not a repentant person's last words. And now we look at the history of any character in Star Wars who have done terrible things for reasons that they believed to be okay. Depending on what those reasons are, how willing we are to sort of extend grace to the character, and also our connection to their victims, depending on how we feel about their victims, is how we feel about them. Because, like, the difference between what Pong Krell did and what Anakin did, like, Anakin's actions objectively were worse. But everybody hates Pong Krell because of how the fandom feels about the clones. And if someone goes to bat for Pong Krell and talks about, like, positive things about him or whatever, that's a massive red flag. Whereas most of Anakin's victims don't have speaking parts, and we are meeting them very early on in his I'm gonna kill everybody kind of path. And the younglings' deaths got memed very quickly, and so we are not mad at Anakin for killing a proxy of the young version of himself. We aren't, as a fandom, for the most part, mad at him for what he did. We are sad for him. I'm mad at him. We've talked about that before. And now the way that the Acolyte story goes, we feel for Osha, the pain, the anger, the sorrow, all of that she's been carrying around that has twisted her life and made it difficult for her to enjoy any kind of happiness. Soul believed he was doing the right thing, believed he was saving people from catastrophe. And I don't anticipate anybody is going to be making videos where they apologize for Master Soul. I'm sure there will be some people, but I'm definitely not going to be one of them. On the topic of killing people, it took me until the final episode to realize that killing a Jedi without a weapon wasn't not using a weapon to kill the Jedi. It was instead the antithesis of the statement, a Jedi doesn't kill an unarmed person. So it is not the act of killing a Jedi without using a weapon, although Osha did that too. It is killing an unarmed Jedi. Because in canon, following the path of the dark side, at least for like the Sith path or the things that are adjacent to it, you are like, power is everything. And so that comes with its own kind of distorted version of non-attachment, where you have to be willing and comfortable to kill anybody, regardless of your connection or relation to them. Because symbolically, there's a lot of destruction of self for the characters that have followed the dark side path. You destroy the things that have emotional value to you, that are also like the places that you receive compassion from. You burn those bridges. Kylo killed Han and attempted to kill his mother. Anakin destroyed a sort of a doppelganger of himself. We watched Reva see a version of herself when she was about to strike down Luke. And so then we get to the ending where one of the things that Osha has to do is be okay with her sister being erased, which is the same thing that May did to Pip, which is a kind of a killing without killing that a story can have. You are killing a part of what makes someone who they are without taking their life. And so it's this sort of gray area. Assuming that we saw Plagueis on the island, I am holding any like opinions about Chimere until after we know how much Chimere knows about Plagueis. Because if Chimere knows about Plagueis being on the island, and this whole thing is because Chimere was his student, and so like these are the dominoes being tipped by Plagueis, and Chimere is a willing, understanding participant, or is a deceived participant, whatever. I'm waiting until we know. And in line with that, I thought the Senator was fantastic. Now, I don't love Jedi being law enforcement rather than emergency responders, but that is absolutely the story. And so with superpowered law enforcement, like, there should be public oversight. I really believe that. And so I am not opposed to the Senate having sort of a jurisdiction over the Jedi. But now we get to Captain America Civil War, and the public don't have jurisdiction like with the Sokovia Accords. Militaries do. And that is one of the places where I feel like it's different. And then we can add in there the mutant registration that is like a part of so many X-Men storylines, because that's such a linchpin piece of the disagreement between Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher. And I'm opposed to the Mutant Registration Act, but simultaneously, I'm really okay with there being public oversight of the Jedi. So this is probably an interesting conversation for another video. Now, I'm still in my sadness that we have not had a live action, direct, simple explanation of non-attachment for an American audience to consume so that they can get it. And that is on me that I was sad about it, because I am apparently very attached to that philosophy being understood by others. And if I'm going to eat my own dog food on that one, I'm going to need to let that shit go. On the topic of non-attachment, people think the struggle of non-attachment is like not being able to love people or feeling like you're not allowed to love people or whatever, but that's not it. The hard part is letting go of anger. You get to love people. You get to extend compassion infinitely with the practice of non-attachment. You got to let go of your angry though, and that's fucking hard. If there is a person that wrongs you and is the reason you end up in that feeling of anger, you don't have to keep them around. You can set whatever boundaries you want to there. It doesn't mean that you have to trust people, especially if they show you that you can't. And this brings us to the reason that I personally could never be a Jedi. I am very content using the reason that I am angry at someone or something or whatever. I'm very content to use that to be the reason that I don't have to extend the same amount of compassion to one person that I do to the people that I like. Compassion doesn't mean forgiveness. It doesn't mean that you like them, want to hang out with them, have a beer with them, any of that shit. But anyway, there's my Acolyte thoughts.